Good morning, Independently Blind. It's a new day in Philadelphia here. Getting ready to head out to meet up with my Achilles group. We're gonna go downstairs and meet my guide runner. Her name is Shannon, and then we're gonna walk over to the meetup spot. All right, so let's go ahead.
In sport triathlon, been competing in endurance racing since 2014. Just super pumped and thrilled that every single one of you are here. And just remember, tomorrow is number one. Just always keep it loose, keep it tight, and safety third. Just kidding. Guys, just have fun, be safe, run a great race out there tomorrow. I'm around this evening, and I'll be around post-race tomorrow. So hit me up, grab a photo, and just have a great time tomorrow.
And wait, you have one other thing to share too.
Oh, right. So a little fun thing that I'm doing. Being a full-time professional athlete, I get hooked up with lots of swag, lots of cool sponsors and partners. Greg and I are, we're shooting to run fast tomorrow.
Okay, I'm Rob. I'm from Rhode Island. I'm an Army veteran. I started running 2016, the end of 2016.
Pre-race communication, one of the things we can just talk about and discuss with your athletes are setting goals and pace and strategy. And Deborah, if you want to just mention anything about what's most important to you for pre-race communication.
What is most important to me is like what has worked best with the athlete in the past. What are they most comfortable with?
Pace. So, Steve and I, we've been running for 2 years now, so we typically know our pace. We go out quick, or lay low and save the energy for the end. But also for pace as far as time, we typically run in sevens, but I guess I'm banged up. So I'm like, this race I'm going like 10, 11 minute pace. So if I don't communicate that with him, he's thinking, we're used to the sevens, so we're all running the sevens. I think we have to really communicate with the guy running the athlete. Just simple things. So, like I said, don't think that, don't let it take it for granted. Always think that your guy running doesn't know. As an athlete, just tell them what you're going to do and have a show about it.
And with Mike, we've been running for a couple years now, and I know Mike thinks he's going to go out at 11s and 10s, but Mike likes to get shot out of the cannon. So I know that about him, so I'll try to rein him in the first few miles to let us get comfortable first, so we don't have a tougher time in the end. And then, pick it up towards the end if he's feeling all right, I'm feeling all right, and then, make up the time if you want at the end if you have the energy. But, we try to keep it enjoyable the whole time because, I'm sure everyone's hit the wall before and how terrible that can be for the next couple miles.
Yeah, that's another thing. So, tomorrow we're not going for personal records here, but the other races, obviously I can't see the time going out, but we're close to a certain time, that we were going for. Steve's like, Mike, we gotta pick it up in the last couple miles. So just constant communication as far as pace goes. So that's always keep communication. Going for a personal record, like Mike, we gotta pick it up in mile 8 or mile 9. Or like Steve, our legs are heavy, we gotta fall back with it. So just, I think, just constant communication during the race, that's huge for me.
So thank you guys, and that's one of the things that is going to be key of all the guiding and all the training is just communicating with your athlete and communicating with your guide, the communication back and forth, because what Mike and Steve said is they may go out, they've run together before, so they may have preset agendas in their own minds, but if you don't communicate and say, this race, let's do this, and then talking and saying, what are your A, B, and C goals for this race? Because they could be very different than what you came into the race thinking they would be, even if you run together for a long period of time. We'll talk about positioning during the race. And Deborah, do you want to give a little bit about positioning and what you like? And you can use the example of, you know, when you have one guide or more guides.
That some athletes are used to the guide being on the left, some are used to being on the right. It's good to ask your athlete what they before and try to go with it, even if it's uncomfortable for you. Think how uncomfortable it may be to run with someone else guiding you and having limited or no sight. I usually like to run with more than one guide because it enables me to run without a tether, because I can see shapes, colors, and lights really well. So I prefer to have my guides wear white fluorescent yellow, like the Achilles yellow, and I go by the clock system. So I have one guide at 2 o'clock and one guide at 10 o'clock. And then I have the guides about maybe 8 feet apart, and I run right behind them, so we make a little pod shape. And that works really well with me because I just have to, I have poor central vision, which is important for the guys to know, but I have very good peripheral vision. So that enables us to just kind of go. And then I always have one primary guide. So if you have more than one guide, it's always good to have one primary guide so that one guide can kind of be in charge of the whole team.
Thanks, Deborah. And Mike, what works out well for you for positioning?
So totally different. I just like one guy. Unless it's a good-looking girl, I'll have 2 guys.
Oh gosh.
So I have retinitis pigmentosa. So I'm blind in my right eye. I still see distortion at the side of my left. So, as Deborah said, for the Achilles, we have bright yellow shirts. So I always like staying on the right side. So I can always see the yellow blur. So after it pisses me off, I don't want to talk to them. I can still see the yellow blur. No side is wrong. It's really just personal preference, right? But I always stay on the right side. And we don't use the tether either. So it hurts my shoulder, my stride gets messed up. So when there's cracks coming up in the pavement or whatnot, where there's a hardcore turn, being on the right side, I just take my left hand and put it on his right shoulder. So you just have to feel comfortable and safe in his cracks. So he always plays on that to grab me, or I just go with the flow. When he runs, I just go with the curvature on the turn. So like I said, just personal preference. Each side is it's kind of the wrong side, just what your situation is and whatnot. So like I said, me having a little distortion I can see on the left, I'll stay on the right. And Deborah also mentioned, Philly Achilles with the yellow shirts. Anyone who's new, Philly Achilles is a great group. As you can tell, I just moved out here 2 years ago, Long Island boys, they take on anyone. So the interesting in Philly Achilles, really, it's and they didn't tell me to say this, no plugs, nothing, but it's a great group. So you can look it up online, or the tables over there, you can speak to them. But I'm lucky I have Philly Achilles.
Thank you, Mike. Steve, anything on positioning?
No, just for me, Mike's real good. The only thing I really have to be aware about Besides like the terrain and stuff like that, is sometimes Mike will start drifting a little bit, and I'll just, it's real simple, like a little left.
Is it towards a girl?
Most of the time, I'm following behind one, and I'm like, where's he going?
So I'm going to mention a few things about positioning. One of the things is that sometimes Deborah has a vest that she wears, and oftentimes I'll wear a guide vest so that Deborah can see spots or locations on the guide vest. And also particularly for Deborah and I wear a sleeve. I run on Deborah's left, and if we're not tethered, Deborah can see the sleeve more easily, and I just use my arm a lot as direction. So those are some options. The other thing I will mention is mostly Deborah and I run without a tether, but I always have a tether, and there has been an instance where the course just got really crazy in Deborah's abilities. It was easier for us to go with the tether, and we stopped and we picked up the tether. So it's always an option to, again, communicate what's going to work best right now in this moment to keep Deborah safe, to keep our athletes safe. In-race communication. So this obviously, again, is really, really important. The most important thing is about keeping everybody safe. What's most important for you for in-race communication?
One, communicate with the athlete as to how they feel about you touching them, they touching you, because some athletes don't mind the guy reaching out to like grab them in the case of an emergency. Some athletes feel more comfortable putting their left hand on the guy's shoulder sometimes. If there's a narrow path, sometimes the guy would say like narrow path, and I just kind of like motion behind them, and they may like touch the athlete. You want to let the athlete know that there may be some physical contact and see whether that's okay with that. In those cases, it is, but you just want to make sure. Communication is so key. You just want to keep communicating throughout the entire race unless the athlete tells you to communicate less. There's a very wise man that once said, like, when in doubt, call it out.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you. Mike, importance of in-race communication or what works well for you?
Yeah, like I said, when Steve tells me there's cracks coming up in the pavement, what is a hardcore term, I guess I was putting my left hand on my shoulder, but when we first started, I just didn't do it. I was like, Steve, it's okay to put my hand on your shoulder? And I asked him first, I was like, yeah, so that's what I do. But communication, I just say, Steve, just don't put me in a pole. When he first started, he's like, I never guide anyone before, like, just don't put me in a pole. But actually, all jokes aside, things happen. You know, some trip on a pavement, or so. As an athlete, a so-called athlete, I'm just grateful for the volunteers. So as an athlete, things happen. Just, things happen. You can't get mad at your guy runner, but accidents occur. But we've been pretty lucky, right?
Don't hold that.
Yeah, the only thing I like to do as a guide is like, because just to try to keep him calm. If we have like a long straightaway, I'll be like, hey, we're heading straight for a while. Give him some time to relax. And if like, I'm like, hey, we're coming up to a bunch of turns, stay close. We got to be on right now. Stuff like that to keep them at ease, to give them as much information about what's coming up. Really, I think helps them stay at ease and get that connection and kind of enjoy the race more.
Also, sometimes I'm like, if I'm in that zone, I won't say a word, but like he'll just like every 2 minutes, like Mike, you okay? 'Cause I'm not speaking sometimes, you know, for a stretch at times. I'm like, you know, I'm trying to like, my knees are hurting me and my hamstring, I'm trying to like just psych myself out. And so I won't say anything, but Steve's good with that. Like every 2 minutes, Mike, you good? You good? So just like, you know, just constant communication during the race, just to make sure everything's okay.
Thank you, and thank you for calling that out, because that's one of the things that Deborah and I do, depending on the day, depending on how much communication you want. Shall we talk? Do you want to just lay back and enjoy the race? Same thing, straight away, you're good to go, let's just be calm for a little bit. So I think those things, and again, it's the constant communication and the changing and flexing if we need to flex. So if you're not asking those questions, you don't know whether your athlete just wants to be in the zone and enjoying it. The only other thing I took note on is just being respectful to the other runners in the race. These days with people wearing earbuds, they may not hear if we're passing them. So just being respectful to them and letting it be their race as well, and trying our best to navigate around those people. We'll be passing on your left, we'll be passing on your right, whatever is working for you, but being respectful of them as well.
And just one thing like I like to do with Mike is I try to get as far up as possible, because it's a lot easier for them to go around us than us to keep going around people that are slower in front of us. So I try to get up front. It's just less that we have to worry about throughout the race.
And similarly, because not all vision impaired athletes run quite as fast as Mike and Steve do, we tend to like to start in the farther back, but towards the front of the crowd, kind of like in the back of the crowd in front of us, to like give them some room so that we had a cushion. And one other thing I was going to mention is tomorrow we shouldn't have too many obstacles, but if you guide it and you come upon curves or some other type of obstacle, a lot of times athletes find it helpful if you can count down to the obstacle, like 3, 2, 1 up, or 3, 2, 1 down to the curve, or okay, we'll be making a sharp right in about 200 feet. 3, 2, 1 right. And then they know like when to initiate that action.
Thank you. And then just communication about the aid stations. What's most helpful for you, knowing whether an aid station is coming up, but what's most helpful for you?
Knowing whether the guide or whether the athlete wants wobble, whether they want new or like you, whether they want to walk through it, whether they want some other type of experience.
Anything to add about aid stations?
Aid stations, it's like the first aid station, I really don't hit that hurt. You know, I usually just go by it. I don't usually be in the water or I try to the point, but definitely like the second one. And then, as Deborah said, you know, as you're coming up, God will inform me, Steve will inform me. Mike is, you know, water station coming up, you good? Sometimes I'm good, sometimes like, no, I need some. Or as far as the water potties, that's kind I don't know, for me, water potty is not my friend, so I try to go but like, yeah, some of the electrolyte drinks and the groups, like, they mess up my stomach. So, you know, I try not to take it unless I really need it, but I try to stay. I haven't hit one on this horse yet. So that's I'm a little germaphobe as well. So.
The only thing I really try to do is I try to look out for him and give him as much notice that they're coming up, because that gives me time to start working our way over towards it. So it'll take us a little bit longer to get to the left or the right where it's at. So the more advance notice I have, the more time it gives me to get us to the spot we need to be to make it easy, get the water, keep going.
Thank you. And then the only other thing about that is, again, respectful to the other runners in the race. If you know that you're going to be stopping, just giving a quick signal to the people behind you that you'll be going, like Steve said, if it's on the left and you weren't prepared for it, just get respectful to the other runners.
One other thing about aid stations. Aid stations just about always come with paper cups, plastic cups on the ground, which can be very slippery to any runner, let alone vision impaired runners. So it's important to try to like steer around the bulk of them, or to like kind of like, my guys have been amazing at like keeping it out of the way. Through them, but at least let the athlete know that they are going to be unavoidable and so right here.
Yeah, thank you. That's it for our part of the presentation, but we'll open it up to questions if anybody has any particular questions.
Why don't we show different tableau loops or like tableau ideas? One of the things that we like to do is
What's up, Independently Blind? It is race morning, getting ready to head downstairs to meet up with other blind and vision impaired people, and we're going to walk over to the start line and hang out there until the race starts. The race starts at 7:30 East Coast time. So let's see what happens today. Hopefully you'll have a good time. Well, we will have a good time out there on the course no matter what happens. But let's go out and enjoy this day. All right.
Craig. I just wanted to shout out my guy today who did an amazing job, Andrew. I never raced a 5K before because I usually run track, so it's usually over like in like a couple of seconds. So running this long was a challenge to say the least. But I was really amazed at how we were able to like sync up even with the long distance, and even just him just helped me accomplish like the pace that I wanted, because we were rolling like 7:30s most of the race. So I was really happy about that. So thanks to all you guys here, and I love the energy of it. It felt good because in track, like a lot of times we train by ourselves. So just being in this space where you have like someone you're with and a whole bunch of other people you're with, it was really, really amazing. So thank you guys, and maybe I'll come next year. I don't know.
Maybe. Ain't no maybe. No maybe here.
Thank you guys so much.
No.